Hi, everyone, and welcome to our 8th grade English Language Arts reading lesson. I'm Mrs. Bryce. Please grab a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil while I present my screen. Welcome to class. Today's schedule is that this is day 4 of our 8th grade reading lesson, Making Inferences and Drawing Conclusions in Fiction. On your paper, draw this 3-column table that we've been using all week in order for us to play a quick game before we begin today's lesson. Feel free to pause the video at any time if you need extra time to complete the task. We are going to play our principal files game where you've somehow gotten access to your principal's files and we need to figure out what's happening at the school by using clues, what we know, in order to make an inference. Our first clue is an email that says, "Hi, Julie, just checking in to see if you've had an opportunity to send the programs to the printer. Thanks, Mrs. Smith." Take a few moments or pause the video to write a clue next to number 1, and then what you know next to number 1. On my table, in the clues column next to number 1, I wrote programs need to be printed. In the what I know column next to number 1, I wrote programs are used at events. They usually give some information about what's happening. Clue number 2 is a purchase order for a company called Party Hardy, an order for balloons, streamers, and banners on the date June 10th for a total of $73.50. In the clues column next to number 2, write a clue you have from the purchase order. In the what I know column next to number 2, write what you know based on the clue. Pause the video if you need extra time. In my number 2 column for clues, I wrote balloons, streamers, and banners were purchased. In the what I know column next to number 2, I wrote balloons, streamers, and banners are party supplies. All right, number 3. An index card that says, "Good afternoon. I must say that I couldn't be prouder of the young people seated before me." In the clues column next to number 3, write a clue you have from this file. In the what I know column next to number 3, write what you know based on the clue. For my clue for number 3, I wrote someone is saying they are proud. For what I know next to number 3, I wrote index cards are used to remember information. Pause if you need extra time. Principal file number 4 is a message board request that says, "Congratulations," and the dates June 5th to June 10th. In the clues column next to number 4, write a clue you have from this principal file. Then, in the what I know column next to number 4, write what you know based on the clue. My clues is the message board says, "Congratulations." What I know, graduations happen in June. So if I look at my clues and what I know, programs are being printed to be used at an event, number 1. Number 2, balloons and streamers were purchased probably because there's a party. Number 3, someone is saying they are proud in a speech because they wrote it on an index card. And number 4, the message board says congratulations, probably for a graduation. Therefore, I infer, pause if you need time to write your inference before I tell you mine. Therefore, I infer the school is having a graduation. If you got that, great job. You used your clues or your text evidence coupled with what you know or your background knowledge in order to make an inference a logical based guess. Before we start today's lesson, let's review our objective that we have had all week. Read the objective to yourself. Our learning objective for the week is to make inferences and draw conclusions based on explicit and implied information using references to the text for support in fictional text. Our learning target for today: read it silently to yourself. Our learning target for today is: today, I will be able to compare and contrast making inferences and drawing conclusions, and use inferences to draw conclusions. Let's review our definitions from earlier this week. Read the inference definition to yourself. An inference is a logical guess based on text evidence and background knowledge. You know this. We've been reviewing this all week. Let's review what we learned from the last several lessons. We know that inference is a logical guess based on a certain action we do while reading the text. That action is called analysis. We can form inferences by analyzing specific things in the text. We can form inferences by analyzing objects, emotions, events, facts, or ideas. Inferences are evidence-based guesses. And finally, for some further review, our tips for making inferences. We want to read the passage carefully, even more than once. We base a logical guess on facts and what we know about the topic, text evidence plus background knowledge. Making inferences is not your personal interpretation. If you just used your personal interpretation, you would be ignoring text evidence. Number 4, think about what you already know about the topic. That's your background knowledge. And number 5, support your inference with evidence from the passage. That's your text evidence. Your work from yesterday asked you to answer 2 questions based on the poem Dusting. First, you were to explain why the statement you chose is the strongest piece of evidence. That was in reference to a multiple choice question that you had answered with me. Let's review what a possible answer to this question is. By refusing to be anonymous, the speaker states that she wants to be important and wants people to remember her. I have to include my piece of text evidence in my answer. Question 2 says, what can you infer about the speaker's relationship with her mother? What do their actions suggest about how well they understand each other? Use evidence for support. A possible answer to this question could be, the speaker and her mother work together on their chores but have different styles. The speaker does not want to be like her mother. She says she refused with every mark to be like her. I have that / in my answer because it's a line break in the poem. I've cited my piece of text evidence, I've made my inference, and I've explained my inference. Okay, our new information for today. We're going to see how making inferences is different than drawing conclusions, but also see how they are similar. We already know about a lot about inferences from the work we've done together. You might also already know what drawing conclusions is, but we're going to review together. Inferences is that process of figuring out additional information using information that is included in the text. So you're using things that are said in the text, that text evidence, and you're figuring out what is implied or what is being said indirectly by the author. On the other hand, conclusions are the judgments or decisions reached based on the information learned. So it's a judgment or decision based on an inference. It's usually those why questions. What they have that is similar are that they both use text evidence and background knowledge. We make decisions about the missing information, and that missing information is implicit or implied. It's called the inference, and the end result, which is the conclusion. You need to have the inference in order to make the conclusion. The conclusion is the next step. Feel free to copy down any notes you need and to pause the video if you need extra time. I have this short passage here. I will read the passage out loud to you and you will follow along. Maya came out of the bathroom with tears in her eyes. She ran down to the cafeteria and asked the staff if they had any rice. Fortunately for Maya, Ms. Lucille did. Ms. Lucille filled a red plastic cup about halfway with white rice grains and handed it to Maya. Maya pulled a damp phone from out of her back pocket and pushed it into the dry rice grains relieved, but she was still a little worried. What can you infer happened to Maya's phone? Let's go back to the text. Find text evidence and combine it with background knowledge to help you make an inference about what happened to Maya's phone. Pause the video if you need extra time. What can you infer happened to Maya's phone? If you said that Maya's phone fell into the toilet and got wet, you would probably be correct. I'm taking the text evidence that she's coming out of the bathroom, she's crying, and that her phone is damp, combined with my background knowledge that rice absorbs moisture to infer that her phone fell into the toilet, which is a terrible thing to have happen to your phone. Okay, now we're going to draw a conclusion. We're using our why question to use that inference to draw a conclusion. Why is Maya relieved but still worried at the end of the text? Think about the inference we made. Her phone fell into the toilet. Use that inference to draw a conclusion about why she is relieved but still worried at the end of the text. I'll show you the text again. Why is she relieved but still worried at the end of the text? The inference, her phone fell into the toilet. Why is she relieved but still worried at the end of the text? Write your answer down on your paper. Pause the video if you need more time. I said, Maya's relieved but still worried at the end of the text because her phone might be damaged. Even though she feels relief because she put it in the rice, she is worried that the water still could have ruined her phone. I used my inference that her phone fell in the toilet to draw a conclusion about her feelings. Okay, we have another short passage in order to make inferences and draw conclusions. I will read the passage out loud to you. Follow along while I read. Every day after work, Paul took his muddy boots off on the steps of the front porch. Alice would have a fit if the boots made it so far as the welcome mat. He then took off his dusty overalls and threw them into a plastic garbage bag. Alice left a new garbage bag tied to the porch railing for him every morning. On his way in the house, he dropped the garbage bag off at the washing machine and went straight up the stairs to the shower as he was instructed. He would eat dinner with her after he was presentable, as Alice had often said. What type of job does Paul do? Use text evidence plus your background knowledge to make an inference about the type of job Paul does. Feel free to fill out another 3-column table with text evidence, background knowledge, and inference. Pause the video if you need more time. What type of job does Paul do? Paul is most likely a construction worker or someone that needs to wear boots to work because they are going to be working with dirty materials or in messy situations. My text evidence is that he has muddy boots and then he needs to shower in order to be clean when he comes home from work. We're going to make one more inference citing our text evidence before we draw a conclusion. Describe Alice. What in the text supports your description of her? Feel free to fill out your table of text evidence and background knowledge in order to describe her. Make sure you cite your text evidence. Describe Alex. Alex? Alice. Describe Alice. What in the text supports your description? I would say that Alice is probably very conscientious. She likes to be a perfectionist. She wants her house to be clean. She is very focused on the cleanliness and appearances of things. And my text evidence is that she would have a fit, that she leaves the garbage bag out, that she instructs him to shower, and that she wants him to be presentable. Those are all things having to do with appearances and the cleanliness of her home and her husband. What relationship do Paul and Alice have? Why do you feel this way? Here we're drawing a conclusion. Even though what is not a why question, it's asking you to extrapolate or to remove information from the text and take that next step. Use that inference, that missing information, what Paul does for a living, and the type of person that Alice is, in order to draw a conclusion about the relationship that they have with each other. Because this passage doesn't say anything about their relationship, but we're drawing a conclusion about their relationship. And then it's asking you why you feel this way. So take a minute to answer that question. Feel free to pause the video while you write your answer. What relationship do Paul and Alice have? Why do you feel this way? I said, Paul and Alice have a strained relationship. Paul needs to be not just clean, but presentable before he is allowed to eat dinner with Alice. It seems like Alice controls the relationship. Paul listens to what Alice says. For your work that you will do either now by pausing the video or after the video is over, you will read the passage on this slide. After you read the passage on this slide, you will answer these two questions. These two questions that will have you draw an inference and make an inference and draw a conclusion. Feel free to pause the video now to complete this work or to go back after the video is over. Before you go, what is a conclusion? If you said a conclusion is the judgment or decision you make or reach after you've found the missing information or the inference, you'd be correct. How do readers draw conclusions while reading fictional passages? Readers draw conclusions by using their text evidence and background knowledge to make an inference. Then they're answering the why questions. Why does the character feel this way? Why does the character act like this? Why does this happen? They're using that inference to make a final judgment. And what are we learning tomorrow? We are going to review conclusions, learn inference question stems, and make inferences in passages from fictional texts. Thank you so much for your hard work today, and I'll see you tomorrow.